Wake up, Mineral Point, and welcome to the 2022 Mineral Point School District School Board Candidate Forum. I'm Ella Chambers.
And I'm Mallory Lindsay. We have the privilege of acting as this year's moderators. The candidate interviews are being shown in alphabetical order. They are being asked the same questions and have a time limit of 90 seconds per question.
I am here with School Board Candidate William Harris, and we will begin the questions. Please tell us a bit about yourself, including what motivates you to run for school board.
My name is Will Harris, and I'm a Mineral Point native. I graduated from high school in 1998. I have two kids, Henry, who is in kindergarten here, and my daughter Evelyn, who will be starting in pre-K in the fall. We live on our family farm here in Mineral Point. I am a nonprofit executive, so I run a loan fund that's based out of Madison, Wisconsin, that makes loans to financial cooperatives in Central and South America. And the purpose of the loan fund is to make small microloans to entrepreneurs to help them work out of poverty. And with my job, I've been able to travel quite a bit in Central and South America and some of the poorest communities in the world. And one thing I've noticed is that the families that are able to attain education for their children, those children have a leg up in their communities in terms of actually working out of poverty eventually, and I think that's part of what motivates me to run for the school board. Just the idea that any kid who wants to come to school here in Mineral Point is able to do so, and that they can have a quality education that'll set them up for the rest of their lives.
So, what expertise will you bring to help our schools? You kind of mentioned your job.
Sure. Well, I believe that I'm well qualified to be on the Mineral Point School Board. I think that every candidate that's in the running for these open seats loves Mineral Point and loves the school district, which is why we're here. But love will only get you so far, and I think that having relevant work experience and board experience is really important. I have over 25 years of cumulative work experience. I have 10 plus years of board experience, so that is both being a board member. I served as a board president at one time, and now as an administrator managing a professional board of directors. So I have that experience on both sides of the coin. I manage a budget of $1.2 million on an annual basis, and it's a $14 million loan fund. So I'm used to big numbers, financial forecasting, accounting, communications, management, and I'm ready to share that experience and expertise with the board of directors and administration. I feel that I'm a good connector and a good public speaker, and that I can be a really good representative for the Mineral Point School District at large.
What is your stance on incorporating social and emotional learning in the classroom?
I think that emotional intelligence is one of the most important qualities that a human being can have. If you look at the people who have been most successful in life over the long term, you think about athletes, entertainers, academics, or even people here in our own community, they all have that same characteristic, which is emotional intelligence and self-awareness. So, as an employer, I have seen in some candidates, whether that's for internships or staff positions at my work, a lack of emotional intelligence, and that's a real challenge as an employer in terms of how do I catch these people up so that they can be on par with their coworkers. So any opportunity to incorporate emotional intelligence and social intelligence in our curriculum is welcomed. Not only to make our students that are graduating better people, but to actually give them a competitive advantage in the workplace.
How will you support a diverse, age-appropriate library that reflects different cultures and identities?
I think that here in Mineral Point, we are blessed to have professional librarians at the high school, middle school, and elementary school. And I fully trust them to develop an age-appropriate, diverse collection of books from a diverse set of authors And the same with our teachers. I think that they're all doing a really great job with the curriculum, and I have full faith that that'll continue.
What is your plan to support the faculty and staff of the Mineral Point School District?
Look, I think that the last 2 years have been really difficult for everybody in our community. Not only with the pandemic, but all of these tragedies that we've had to live through. And I think that our teachers and staff have had to bear the brunt of a lot of that, as well as our students. And I think the first thing you have to do is to talk about it, to be open and transparent with our communication, and to identify what problems are out there, to make sure that staff feel valued and appreciated. So as a board member, it's all about communication, and whether that's individual conversations, focus groups, doing surveys, but making sure that the staff have an outlet for that, and that they can say how they feel and be honest about it. And then it's about coming together as a board, an administration, and a staff to talk about it all and to come up with a plan of how we move forward. That's catching students up over the next 12 months for all of the setbacks that they have faced, but also making sure that our staff and administration feel valued and supported.
So what is your plan to return the focus of our schools to academic learning and regaining some of the ground that has been lost academically during the last 2 years because of COVID?
Well, similar to my previous answer, I think it's all about communication. So we need to, as a board, to work with the staff and administration to talk about where everybody's at right now and what problems we're facing, and then to just come up with a plan of how we're going to catch up kids over the next 12 months. But the key to that, beyond communication, is accountability. And I think the school board's accountable for making sure that this happens. The administration's accountable. Staff are accountable. But I think that students are accountable as well, and parents are also accountable. We're going to all have to work together and make sure that we're openly communicating. And it's not going to be easy to catch people up, but it's really important, and I think we owe that to the students, especially the ones that are about to graduate.
How do you see your role as a school board member different from that of the superintendent or principal?
Sure. Well, structurally, they're different. So, board of directors are responsible for setting the mission and vision of the school district. They're responsible for giving input on the strategic plan and holding the administrator accountable for implementing the strategic plan. The board of directors is responsible for approving the budget. And I think the board has this sort of outward responsibility to the community. One, to be fiscally responsible and make sure we're spending the resources wisely, and also to be a conduit for feedback from the community about how things are going in the school. The administrator is responsible for implementing the strategic plan, responsible for operating within the budget that's been approved, responsible for managing the staff, for making recommendations about hiring and other personnel decisions. And ultimately, the superintendent and administration is responsible for creating a quality product, which is a really well-prepared student that graduates, that is ready to start farming, to go to the military, to go to tech school, to go to the university, or whatever's next.
Which school board member, past or present, do you most resemble, and how?
Well, I hope that I have the fiscal awareness, the ability to ask tough questions, and the openness to community feedback of Larry Steffes. I hope that I have the curiosity and capacity for logic of Lisa Hay. And I hope that I can be fair and be an ambassador of goodwill to the community of Nate Chambers. But most of all, I hope I can just be the best version of myself.
Last question. What is something you feel Mineral Point School District does well, and what is something you think could be improved upon?
As a parent who had a son in pre-K last year, so that was our first experience with school, and then kindergarten this year, I felt that the school district did a really good job with communications. So it was a crazy time with the pandemic, but I always felt like I knew what was happening with my child. It was great to see pictures of him during the day and to see what he was learning. I felt like I always knew if his class was being quarantined or not, and where he needed to be. And I'm aware of all the great things that the high school students are doing too, even though I don't have a high schooler. Something that could be improved upon, I think that the Facebook page is really great for alumni relations, speaking as an alumni, but there's probably more we could do with alumni. If you think about it, there's like 70 graduating classes of Mineral Point alumni that are still around, and they're all over here locally and all over the country, and they've all had interesting jobs, and I think that we could tap into that for scholarships, for job placements, for internships, for our students that are graduating, and create more value.
I'm here with school board candidate Christy Johnston. So we'll begin the questions.
Okay.
Please tell us a bit about yourself, including what motivates you to run for school board.
My name is Christy Johnston, and I've lived here in Mineral Point for almost 11 years now. I have been in education for over 20 years, taught in a public school for a while, and my most recent position was with the Head Start program in our area. What motivates me to run for the school board is that I think that we can have a school board that has strong leadership, we can make informed decisions, and we can encourage the community to participate in a civil and respectful way.
Perfect. What expertise will you bring to help our schools?
So like I said, I've been in education for over 20 years, and I have experience working with groups of people who have different opinions on how things should be done. But at the end, our main goal is what's best for the students and the teachers in any area. I have taken leadership classes. I have just recently looked at the school board rules and responsibilities on Wisconsin Association School Board website. I'm willing to learn more, and I think I can do a good job.
What is your stance on incorporating social emotional learning in the classroom?
So social emotional learning is something that is very dear to my heart. We teach kids how to ride a bike, we teach them how to bounce basketball, tie their shoe, and so I believe that it's important that we also teach them how to label their feelings, what to do with those feelings, and how to work with other kids, teach them compassion, empathy, kindness. I think that teachers need to be trained in the social emotional learning capacity so that they can put it into daily practice. And then I think we as a school board and staff can model that as well, and the community can get involved too.
Awesome. How will you support a diverse, age-appropriate library that reflects different cultures and identities?
So I feel that when we are teaching an honest, accurate description of history, we need different points of view. We need first-person accounts, best practice. I think that having diverse, age-appropriate materials in the library and teaching tools is extremely important so that students can learn how to critically think and have really robust conversations about what they're learning about.
What is your plan to support the faculty and staff of the Mineral Point School District?
I think that if you have a strong superintendent who feels supported and trusted, that in turn trickles down to the principals, which in turn turns around to the teachers. I think that if teachers, they feel supported and they feel heard and valued, we will retain teachers longer. I know that we didn't get to be the #1 school district in the state without our staff. And so I think that we need to keep that in mind.
What is your plan to return the focus of our school to academic learning and regaining some of the ground that has been lost academically during the past 2 years due to COVID?
Teachers have always needed to be flexible and think outside the box. And I think that during the pandemic, our community saw just how well our staff did that. They were flexible, they thought outside the box, and at any time, any student might need something that's different. They might need more time, they might need a different approach, they might need additional support. And so I think that if we keep focusing on that, our students will continue to move forward. I don't think at any time during the pandemic the teacher's focus was off of learning. It just looked different than it has in the past.
How do you see your role as a school board member different from that of a superintendent or principals?
So I think the role of the school board members are to guide the vision, the mission of the school and where we're going. Whereas the superintendent determines how we get there. And if the school board has faith and trust in the superintendent and holds them accountable for following policies consistently, for fair policies, that we can have a stronger relationship between the superintendent and the school board. So I think that the day-to-day operations of the schools is not something that the board needs to manage, and allow the superintendent to do that, but at the same time monitoring what is happening so that everyone is on the same page.
Which school board member, past or present, do you most resemble and how?
I don't have any one specific. I have seen myself and things that are valuable to me in each of them. I know that one school board member was very, what he valued a lot was being a steward of the taxpayers' money. I agree. I think that is an extremely important part of the school board. Continuing education, I know that some school board members went to learn about board governance and how to create a stronger, more robust board. I'm all for that. I also think that I bring something that not a lot of other board members have, is my years of education experience. And just that perspective of not just a teacher and an educator, but as a parent as well.
Awesome. And final question, what is something you feel Mineral Point School District does well, and what is something you think could be improved on?
So I think that the way that the communication director presents Mineral Point School District to the state and to the community is very good. We have top athletics, we have top academics, and I think that in order to continue to grow Mineral Point, we need a strong marketing plan that the communications director can put in place with her expertise, her knowledge. And I think that if we do that, and if we stick to that, we're going to gain more students and families into the community.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's all.
That was it.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay.
I'm here today with Alan Schrank, a school board candidate. So we'll begin the questions. Please tell us a bit about yourself, including what motivates you to run for the school board.
Well, first off, Mallory, I wanted to thank you for being here this morning. It's nice of you to be here and ask us these questions. So I'm Alan Schrank. I've resided in the city of Mineral Point for the last 14 years. And while I've resided here, I originally wasn't from here, but I'm ingrained in the community now. I currently have a daughter that's in kindergarten, Serenity Schrank, and I've been a volunteer in the Mineral Point Fire Department for 5 years, worked for the City of Mineral Point Police Department for the past 14 years. And what motivates me to run for school board is I want to make sure that our kids are getting the best possible education that they can, and I want to ensure that by overseeing as a school board member.
Awesome. What expertise will you bring to help our schools?
So the expertise that I have heavily is from the public safety background. So whether it be police, fire, and EMS, well versed in understanding, making sure that our schools essentially are safe. But also from my experience, I also have board experience with village boards. Over at my part-time job in law enforcement is for the Village of Linden, where I have to go to monthly meetings and do a budget, so I understand the budget aspect of things, but also understand how Robert's Rules of Orders work and such in village board meetings and school board meetings.
What is your stance on incorporating social emotional learning in the classroom?
I think it's important that we all have basically those types of skills. I really don't know a whole lot about that because I don't have a teaching background, but it's something that I look into.
How will you support a diverse, age-appropriate library that reflects different cultures and identities?
I think making sure that we have the librarians are the expertise in making sure that we have those types of different books and understandings, and talking to the librarian and making sure that the library is diverse in books.
What is your plan to support the faculty and staff of the Mineral Point School District?
So my plan with that would be is that making sure that we have listening sessions for the staff, making sure that the voices of the staff members are concerned, because we want to make sure that all of them are well versed and are happy in teaching here and that. And then if you have happy staff members, it makes happy students, and making sure that our kids get a good education.
What is your plan to return the focus of our schools to academic learning and regaining some of the ground that has been lost academically during the past 2 years due to COVID?
My plan for that would be is making sure that we have staff collaboration days and development days, so making sure that the staff are collaborating and they're the expertise in the teaching of the students, so making sure that they are able to develop and make sure that the kids are getting a good education.
How do you see your role as a school board member different from that of a superintendent or principals?
So as a board member, we're basically essentially the voice of the community, and it is our duty to ensure that the administration follows the rules and the regulations that are established basically by the school board.
Okay. Which school board member, past or present, do you most resemble and how?
Particular school board member, I don't, I guess, resemble any particular one on my own person, so when it comes down to it at the end of the day, I believe in common sense and just easy thinking, so.
Perfect. And last question, what is something you feel that the Mineral Point School District does well, and what is something you think could be improved on?
So the district does very well with communication, and when I say that, I'm very thankful that they kept Joelle's position, because that's something that I've heard within the community, is that the communication between the school district and the community members, whether it be the taxpayers or the parents. When I see taxpayers, it's the people that probably don't have kids anymore in school, but they're still invested in the school financially. So I feel that the communication is excellent. One area that I think could be improved upon, just from going through the board member election process here, is I think transparency between the district and the community as a whole, whether it be the taxpayers or parents. I think more information could be put out there easily and not have to be so restricted in that. So we have an awesome website. I think that there could be more documents put on for transparency on the website that we could all see. So
Awesome, well that's it. Thanks for coming in.
thank you.
I'm here with school board candidate Sarah Seavrud. We can start the questions now.
Great.
So please tell us a bit about yourself, including what motivated you to run for school board.
So my name is Sarah Seavrud. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to do this along with my fellow board member candidates. I've technically been a resident of the Mineral Point School District for nearly 15 years. However, my husband's active duty military, so we consistently moved all over the country. I was fortunate enough to be appointed 4 months ago to fill a vacancy on the board, and I've served ever since. And I'm really hoping that I will be given the opportunity to continue to bring a unifying, perspective to the board.
Okay. What expertise will you bring to help our schools?
So I think my expertise has a lot to do with understanding policies and intentions that are already in place, and being able to communicate those to the community at large, because I think sometimes it gets a little lost, and people may not want to sit down and read the policy and may not understand that there are certain ways that things are done. And I generally am a person that tries to take in information and understand in order to give an educated response to the community at large and kind of bring everybody together.
What is your stance on incorporating social emotional learning in the classroom?
So if you can excuse me, I actually had pulled up some policy in regards to this question, because we do currently already have some things about social emotional learning in our, I'm sorry, I can't find it right now, in our policy, and also our general plan for the district. I also think that this type of question brings a lot of buzzwords into the conversation that doesn't take into account how our district already implements a methodology that helps students of all ages better comprehend their emotions. Our district has policies, has staff in place to already move the health and the education of the whole child to include social emotional.
How will you support a diverse, age-appropriate library that reflects different cultures and identities?
So I feel like this is a really important question that we also additionally have policy that already addresses. Our district policy 361, selection and adoption of instructional materials, states that the board delegates the responsibility for coordinating the selection of and making recommendations for the purchase of instructional materials to professionals and employees. In accordance with board policy, the school board and district cannot discriminate in the selection and evaluation of instructional library materials or course materials in general. It also directs that all instructional materials be accurate and unbiased and reflect cultural diversity and pluralistic nature of American society today. So I think I absolutely support some of the inclusion that is already set within our policy. Additionally, if parents are concerned if something is age appropriate or not, or the public at large, we also have policy in order for people to kind of question that curriculum.
What is your plan to support the faculty and staff of the Mineral Point School District?
Our faculty and staff has been asked to do so much, particularly in changing times in the last 2 years. But I really think that just as our district as a whole is very diverse, so is our country, so is our staff. I think it's important to be a board member that makes staff feel as though they can come to a neutral, communicative, informed, board member to be able to listen, try to find workable solutions, or at least just have them feel heard in general. Not everyone's going to be able to agree 100% with anything, but at least feeling like there's a board member that is, agreeable to listen, I think is really important.
And what is your plan to return the focus of our schools to academic learning and regaining some of the ground that has been lost academically during the past 2 years because of COVID?
So actually in my very first board meeting after I was appointed, I approved a purchase of new materials for early learning intervention for reading, specifically because I recognize and have seen in my own children how the last 2 years has had a great impact on their learning, and that I would continue to look at what is brought before the board and to support what new ways and means that our professionals deem could be useful.
How do you see your role as a school board member different from that of superintendent or principals?
So the school board member acts obviously, as a part of the board as a whole, to make sure that the school district is run well. A lot of the means that happens is left up to the superintendent with the checks and balances from the school board. So I think they both really work hand in hand to be able to have the board say, okay, here's the policy, here's the direction. Please do with this what you will. and implement it to the best you can, and the board will review it to understand, as we go along, in order to really have a living, breathing, workable solution for our district.
Which school board member, past or present, do you most resemble and how?
So I thought this was a very interesting question. While I absolutely hold very deep respect for the board members that I currently serve alongside, and all previous board members, I personally don't know of them or them enough in order to specifically align myself with them. Moreover, I pride myself on being a unique result of my life and world experiences, and that helps me bring a moderate, well-versed, common sense, and independent approach to everything I do in life. So I respect board members that have signed up to do this as a whole and ask the public to vote for them. I know firsthand it is not an easy job, but I certainly consider myself independent.
And final question, what is something you feel Mineral Point School District does well, and what is something you think could be improved upon?
I am really very impressed with our district's policies, their inclusivity, their foresight. I think that it really is solid and indicative of our country as a whole. But where I think it falls short is really communicating and allowing, the members of our district to really understand that these policies are already in place. And here's, how they are workable. Here's how they show that we care about our district. Here's how, they are really a positive influence. So I think communicating those policies in an easy to understand way would be beneficial.
Perfect. That is all the questions. Thank you very
Fantastic.
much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just a reminder that the school board election will take place on April 5th. Voters will be asked to select no more than 2 candidates. Once again, I am Ella Chambers.
And I'm Mallory Lindsay. Have a great day and get out there and vote.